It's my favourite time of the month. It's the time where I only talk about the books I've read, and I just love these videos so much because I love talking about books. Hi, my name is Beth, also known as Bemmy's Bookshelf, and today we have my October reading wrap up. I read 5 books in October, all of them being from my physical TBR, which is fantastic. We're ticking off books from my physical TBR. We're one step closer to being able to buy some new books, and let's get into it. Also, I'm really sorry if I'm kind of blurry. I don't know if my camera is focusing on me or the bookshelf behind, and I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't actually tell. I'm really hoping it's focusing on me. I mean, in the viewfinder it looks like it's focusing on me, but I'm really not sure. The first book I finished in October was Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This was my book club pick for Bemmy's Book Club. If you aren't a member, please join in the link below. This was actually our September book pick, but you know me, I'm always reading my books late. So I read it in October. I read it at the very beginning of October. I did enjoy this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. I'll tell you a little bit what it's about and then I'll go into my review. So Signa Farrow is a girl who cannot die, and everybody around her seems to die, and whenever these people pass away behind her, she encounters death. And in this book, Death is an actual person, but he's kind of like a looming figure throughout the book. But Signa can have conversations with him, she can touch him, he's an actual like physical being, and she's basically just wondering why she's cursed, why everybody around her dies, why she can't die. And it's called Belladonna because she takes belladonna berries, and that's how she talks to death. She'll take the berries, not enough to kill her because they don't kill her, but it means that she can speak to death, because death only comes when there's death around or when someone's about to die, because he comes to collect them. So she takes these berries, she can talk to him, and there's also an underlying kind of murder mystery going on as well, because Signa moves in with her uncle, and her uncle's wife passes away, her auntie, and she's murdered and nobody knows what happened to her. So there's kind of a murder mystery aspect throughout the book as well, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. It was just a little bit slow for me. This is also my first kind of historic gothic romantasy, so I think giving it a 3.5 is a very fair starting rating for a genre that I've not really ever read before. So there was nothing particularly wrong with this book. It was just a new genre for me. It was a little bit slow. I did guess the culprit of the murder quite early on into the book, but whenever that happens it doesn't really spoil it for me. But I do think 3.5 stars is just kind of a good base rating for this book, and I am really excited to read the rest of the series. Next we have Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. This was a 3.75 star. I enjoyed this book so much all up until like the last 2 chapters. So Cleopatra and Frankenstein is about a girl called Cleo and a man called Frank. It's an age gap romance. I think she's 24 and he's 44. She's moved from England to New York, and in order to get a visa to carry on living there, her and Frank get married. It's very New York socialite, what you would imagine New York to be like. Kind of think Gossip Girls, that kind of, I mean it's not set in school, so it's not really like Gossip Girls, but that's what was playing through my head when I was reading this book. There's no solid plot, it's more just sex and drugs, arguments, toxicity. That's kind of that's just the vibes, to be honest. It's just the vibes of this book. There's no like plot per se, but I did really enjoy it. I will say, if you don't enjoy long chapters, you probably won't get on with this book. There's on average around 20 pages per chapter. It didn't bother me, but I do know it bothers some people, so just a little forewarning. The last 2 chapters for me were so boring, which is a shame because usually it's the end that picks up. But there was a character in this book, she only literally has 2 chapters, but I did not care for her at all, and the penultimate chapter was one of her chapters, and I was just like skimming at this point, really quick skimming. And then the final chapter was, guys, this was not a happy ending book. And my granddad actually said to me, I think I said in my reading vlog, because I did film a reading vlog of this book, so I won't talk about it too much because if you've seen that I'll be repeating myself, but my granddad actually said when he read the back of my book, he went, oh, that's going to end in tears. And it did end in tears. Not for me, but for the characters in this book. I mean, it wasn't the best you know, ending. But it was really good, and I'm really excited to read The Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors next. Then I read The Perfect Son by Freida McFadden. Again, this was in a reading vlog that I filmed in the same video as Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I gave this one 4 stars, which is kind of an average rating for me with Freida McFadden books. The books are so quick and easy to get through. I just fly through her books. They're so short, the font is super big, the chapters are super short, and I really enjoy Freida's writing. The Perfect Son is about a mother who is narrating the book, and she has concerns about her son Liam. So a girl in Liam's class gets kidnapped or murdered, they're not quite sure yet. She basically disappears, and the mum suspects that Liam is involved because of things that's happened in his childhood in the past, which you kind of find out is kind of sprinkled throughout the book. The confusing part about this book for me was that there's constant praise for Liam throughout the whole book, how he is the perfect son, he's always hands his assignments in on time, he never asks to be asked twice to do things, he always clears the table, he says thank you, he says please, like he's very, very, very highly regarded. However, this is going on in the mum's inner monologue, but on the other hand, in the next sentence in the mum's inner monologue, that is a very hard word to say. On the other hand, in the mum's inner monologue, she is saying that she's concerned about anybody who comes past Liam. She really doesn't want him to get into a relationship because she's worried for her life that something will happen to the girl that he's with because she doesn't trust him, and something that happened when he was younger. But I just don't understand how, like, it can be both. Like, it can't be both, surely. I did really enjoy this book. Again, I guessed kind of the plot twist towards the end, but again, that's one of those things that doesn't bother me. But if you haven't read many of Freida's books, I would definitely recommend picking this one up. I am so disappointed. We read Reckless next by Lauren Roberts, and I am slightly disappointed to say this is a 3-star at its highest. I don't know why, but this series takes me so long to get through. I flew through Powerful and I gave that 5 stars, you all know that. But Powerless and Reckless, they took me so long to get through, and I don't know why. This book was so mundane, and everything from maybe like here to say here was just nothing. Like, it was I obviously can't talk too much about this book because if you haven't read Powerless, then I don't want to spoil anything. But Payton and Kai, they are going on sort of like a journey, I guess, without spoiling anything. And it's just so repetitive. That whole chunk in the middle is so repetitive, so mundane. It was just disengaging banter, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like it, but I just found it a little bit cringy. And oh, I feel so bad because it just wasn't my favourite. It felt like a really long filler book, and there's nothing wrong with filler books at all. I do understand why they're there, but a filler book doesn't have to be almost 4 pages. 4 pages, 400 pages long. A filler book can be 200, like this book could have been 200 pages less, and I would have missed out any information, I don't think. The ending was so good though. That's what I think brought it up to a 3-star for me. Like, this kind of chunk at the end was just like bam, 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 bam. So good. However, the actual ending, and when I say ending, I mean quite literally the last page, or like last 2 pages. I don't want to have to read the next book if half of it is going to be about what happened at the end of this book, because I could not care less. And if you have read this book, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it reminds me of the ending of A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm the same with that. If I have to go into A Court of Wings and Ruin, reading half a book of what that ending of that book was about, like, I don't want to do it. Same with this one. I hate when that happens so much. I just think it's annoying. Like, it's just so annoying. If you know, you know. If you want to talk to me about it, you can, but someone please try and change my mind on this book, or convince me that Fearless will be better. And finally, in the month of October, we read The Wrong Sister by Claire Douglas. I really liked this book. This was my favourite read of the month. Claire Douglas is such a brilliant author. I gave this 4.5 stars. The Wrong Sister is about two sisters. They're not twins, but they do look very much alike, who kind of home swap. Tasha has 2 kids and a husband. She lives in the countryside, and Alice has a husband as well, but they live, or maybe he's like a fiance, anyway, regardless. They live in London and they also have a holiday home in Italy. So they're very different. They don't have kids, Tasha does, and they just live very different lives. So they decide to do a house swap to kind of give Tasha a break from the kids and from her busy lifestyle. Alice says to Tasha and Tasha's husband, why don't you go and stay in my holiday home in Venice? However, Tasha gets a phone call from her neighbours, I do believe, or it might actually be Alice herself, I can't remember, that Kyle is dead, who is Alice's husband, and there's been a burglary and everyone's trying to figure out like what the hell has gone on. Shortly after Tasha arrives home, she does receive a letter in the mail and it just says, it was supposed to be you. So the intended target was Tasha and her family, not Alice and Kyle. So she's freaking out. And you're basically just figuring out throughout this book who the hell wants Tasha dead, who wants Tasha's family in danger, like what is going on. It was just so good. This book was so good. It was a really fast-paced thriller. There was a back and forth timeline as well, which I really liked, and I cannot wait to read more of Claire Douglas's books. These were all of the books that I read in the month of October. I am so excited to get on to my November reads, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!